start, and we need it to be quiet. Hey, excuse me. All right. Ooh, how do I just work? Cool. Good evening. I am calling to order our Mount Shasta Planning Commission regular meeting for Tuesday, October 21st, 2025, and we are going to start with flag salute.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, item number 2, roll call. Kim, please.
Okay, roll call. Okay, Commissioner Higuera.
Here.
Commissioner Pardee.
Here.
Commissioner Cohen.
Here.
Commissioner McDowell, absent. Vice Chair Sirion.
Here.
Chair Finley.
And I'm here. Thank you. Okay, noting that David's missing this evening. Third item is public comment. This is an opportunity for folks who would like to speak to the Planning Commission on an item that is not on tonight's agenda. You're welcome. If you'd like to speak to us, come up to the mic. You've got 3 minutes. Please introduce yourself. Hi. Thank you. We're going to wait until you're in the mic. So please pass those out, but when you speak, we'll want you speaking into the mic so that it's recorded. So go ahead, please. Continue.
Oh, good.
Oh, wait, until you get to the mic. Thank you. All right, go ahead. Introduce yourself and tell us what's on your mind.
Hi, I'm Therese Swenson. I'm a longtime resident in Mount Shasta, and I'm very interested in what's happening down at the Roseburg property. The Roseburg property went through the Surplus Land Act and has now been made available for development. There was a posted thing for the landing for many years, and the landing asked for people's input. I don't know whatever happened to that, but now I understand people are coming and presenting ideas, and I would like very much to know, and I'd like to let the whole community know, that that land is now for sale and for development. And I just think it's important we all get input before a plan is all made up and presented. So I'd like to know, I've been going to the city, sending emails, asking Kim, asking Todd, when are the people coming, when will there be a presentation? And I can't seem to get an answer. And yet I see things like additional land use element. I see these little comments in here.
Oops, stay close to the mic.
Municipal code updates. Do these municipal code updates have anything to do with a projection of what's happening there? I don't know if there's forethought in some of the things I'm reading. Do you understand? So I'd like very much to know when and where these people that are making a projection or come, she said when I spoke with Kim that people were meeting. And I'd like to know where that is and when that's happening. And I would like the whole community to have a voice. So I've given you a notice asking, could I be notified when, where, and who are these people? Please, if somebody could make me aware of that. Thank you.
Thank you. So just FYI, we can't act on something that you bring before us, but we do take it into consideration. We have staff here, so thank you for your comments. Would anybody else like to speak to something that's not on our agenda this evening? And seeing no takers, we're going to move on to item number 4, which is our consent agenda. Commissioners, if there are no comments, changes to our minutes from our July 15th meeting, it's been that long, we can leave it on the consent agenda. Otherwise, we can take it off if there's any amendments. And if these, if they are agreeable,
I would move to approve the number 4 consent agenda for the minutes of July 15th, 2025, the regular meeting.
So we have a motion from Belinda, a second,
I second.
and Cindy Lee, second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion passes unanimously. Item number 5, and this is going to be a briefing.
Can I just suggest that everybody make sure they talk solidly into the microphones because I'm not hearing very well.
Hello.
Well,
Is that better?
that's,
Well, and you have to share, so that's a little harder.
We're
I
good at
know. Okay, anyway, so next is our briefing from our new Planning Director, Kim Heller. We appreciate you being here, and take it away.
Okay, thank you. First item of housekeeping, I think there's an unused mic at the end of the table here, if we want to grab that. It's too much work, okay. Okay, in that case, well, let's get started. I am Kim Fowler. I am your new city planner for the city of Mount Shasta. I started here in August. I believe we had no meeting in August, no meeting in September. So this is the first meeting that I'm in front of the Planning Commission. I am very happy to be here. Through this briefing update, we'll talk a little bit about what's on the long-term planning agenda, what's on my desk in terms of long-term planning. So if you've read through your staff report, you'll see that the recent adoption of the housing element drove some changes that are now being required. And some of those changes are, first, the land use element. There are some trickle-down effects from the housing element being adopted that we now have to update the land use element in the general plan. And also, aside from that, there are also some zoning ordinance updates that have to be undertaken. So on a high level, those were included in your staff report. Last month, if we were to meet, we were going to be talking about what changes were necessary within the land use element. At the time, the city had consulted with an outfit called Plan West Partners. They were the ones that helped us with the housing element. They were also on board to help us with the land use element updates. And the city, a month ago, we thought we had a budget amount for consultants to help us do that. Fast forward a month, there was a misunderstanding and there are no more grant dollars to have a consultant help us with this effort. So instead of going through the must do, shall do, could do's, I think what we're going to do now is just your planning department is going to just tackle all of that in-house on an as soon as we can get around to it basis and prioritize it with everything else that's happening. So that's kind of what's changed between last month and this month is instead of having a consultant on board to help us with some of these land use element updates, we are now tackling everything in-house. So we'll go through month by month and we'll make the updates. Aside from that, let me see. So the attachment A that you have in your staff report is a list of those things that have to happen in the land use element. If there are any comments or suggestions, anything else you might want to see in there, now would be the time to talk about it so I can fold it into the workflow of things that we have to do to get this updated. So that is the general plan land use element. There are some high-level updates in here for some other element updates. Those we'll tackle after the land use element is done. The other high priority item is the zoning ordinance. So zoning ordinance is divided into text updates and a zoning map update. So adoption of the housing element will drive some of these zoning code text updates, which are also listed in here. One thing I did want to mention on the long range agenda is the fact that part of having a new planner come in on staff and be in the department is there's an opportunity to sift through what's already on the desk and what other folks before me have started working on. So one of the things that has come to my attention recently is the fact that there are quite a handful of parcels within the city that are miszoned. I'm using miszoned as maybe a harsh term. The bottom line is that some of these zoning designations are not consistent with what was updated in the general plan in 2007. And as folks are coming forward saying, hey, why doesn't this match up? I'm kind of discovering, I don't know why it doesn't match up. And in absence of knowing, I think the best course of action is just to rectify that. So Todd, the city manager, and I are sitting down, and we're making a list of all of these discrepancies that we're finding. And instead of having applicants come forward and asking them to do a developer-initiated zoning code amendment, we're just going to go ahead and do that in-house, and it's going to be an administrative. Here's a list of general plan land use designations. Here's a list of zoning designations. Here's where they don't match. And in one effort, I think staff's going to take the time to go through and figure out how to make it match as part of an effort that we'll bring forward. It's going to be a public review process. It has to go through the planning commission and then to the city council, but we're not going to be asking any individual parcel owner to pay for that because it wasn't their mistake. It was ours. And so we're going to fix that. If there are any property owners out there who think that they may have a piece of property that's miszoned, please bring that to our attention now so that we can add that to our list. But the idea is we want to clean it up and make it right as part of a zoning map update. So that's the zoning map. I don't know what else I need to share with you. I guess I'll just open it up. I'll end here and open it up for clarification questions, and we can go from there.
Okay. Tucson, start with you. Did you have some comments, questions for Kim?
I don't have any right now.
Okay. Belinda? Alan?
I liked what I saw. No questions right now. Yeah.
Cindy Lee?
No questions yet.
Okay. Well, guess what? Guess who might have questions? So, did you have, regarding the miss zone, do you have some examples of some that have popped up so far? And kind of what is there a trend? Like, what have you noticed?
I don't know if there is a trend per se, but one piece of property that comes to mind, because Bob Hammond came in and spoke with me a couple of weeks ago. He owns a parcel that's just south of where the hospital is on Pine Street. It's historically railroad property, and it's right in the middle of the city, but if you look at the zoning designation, if you look at the general plan land use designation, it has no color. That parcel is white. So what that means is the city, oopsie, forgot to include it in the general plan update, and then also, because of that, forgot to fold it into the zoning map update. So right now, there is no zoning, there is no designation. The staff findings are going to be, oops, that is a mistake. We're going to look at the surrounding parcels, figure out what was intended. In this case, it's pretty clear cut. It's surrounded by R3, adjacent to R3. It makes sense. There's R3 right around it. So that's a no-brainer. So far, for the properties that we have identified, it's very clear what the correct course of action is. And if there's a situation where we don't know, we'll figure it out. And a lot of that has to do with what's existing in the surrounding parcels and in the neighborhood, what makes sense, and we'll go from there.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
All right, and the second one of the tasks has to do with the condominium conversion ordinance. And some years ago, which I can't come up with a number, but more than a few, we did come up with a condominium conversion ordinance. So I'm wondering where we missed the mark in what we currently have, and you're thinking about, and I don't know I don't have an opinion one way or the other, but in some ways, a condominium is potentially a rental unit, or it's a rental unit that's been converted to a condominium. So we're losing some rental stock, but a condominium is also potentially an entry-level ownership opportunity where people can start building equity. So, what kind of framework should we be thinking about, and what do we have so far?
So I think there are two ways that we can look at this. I think one of the ways we can look at this is picking up that condominium conversion ordinance. So much time has passed between then and now that it's worth our while to look at it fresh and see what we can do about putting an ordinance in place. I'm also finding that separately, people who own apartment units in town now who are on their own accord coming to the city and saying, hey, what is the process to convert these apartments from what we have now to multifamily condominiums? Obviously, they have to be retrofitted to condo standards if they're not already, but it's a process of walking through these property owners. You know, there's a condo map that has to be created, so you have to draw up a condo map, get that recorded, talk to our engineer, get it through the Planning Commission and the City Council. There is a process. So as folks are coming forward, city staff is talking to anyone who's interested in doing that so we can help convert some of these apartment units into townhomes, condominiums, for sale properties that other people can then buy into that would be a more affordable rate than perhaps a single-family home. So that is happening.
Okay, so is this really just making sure our ordinance fits current practice?
Yeah, and a lot of it also is like a public service. There's a PSA element to that. It also is letting everybody understand what the tools are in order to do that.
Okay, so it's not a discourage, encourage situation in that at all? Is there like creating hurdles for that, or?
I'll go back and take a look at what the draft ordinance from, because I think a draft was created. I'd have to go back and take a look at what that language is. But I think ultimately the goal would be to figure out how to encourage and or facilitate conversion of these units so that that is an option.
Okay, because I can imagine it is an expensive proposition to bring it up to code for, and doing the property splits and all that. That would be a hurdle. All right. By all means, please.
So will this, because you've had a fairly detailed conversation with Melanie, will this come back to the Planning Commission in a form that is the finished description of what this is?
If there's an ordinance that comes back, absolutely, yes.
Once upon a time, the big hurdle was fire improvements. They require fire in apartments now, though, don't they? New
Well, yeah,
ones?
the walls between them, like
Fire
sound.
regs are changing by the minute.
Like fire and sound and
That had
all of
been a
that.
hurdle at one point to condominium, conversions, so. Okay.
There are some discussions at the state level to alleviate some of those fire requirements based on designations within the city, so that's a separate discussion. That's a separate effort that's happening internally within city, is how do we redesignate some of these fire, the term is blanking on me, but the fire-wise stuff. How do we get into redesignating some of these fire?
Like the fire severity zones?
The fire, not exactly severity zones, but there's a way to update fire standards in terms of, I will get back to you. I'm drawing a blank, I will get back to you. But there are changes happening at the state level that could help alleviate some of those roadblocks.
One of the roadblocks in other communities I've worked in was also, we don't have to deal with it now because we don't have multi-story structures really, but it was whether the equipment, fire suppression equipment, matched the structures.
Right.
And that also had to do with access as well. So fire seems to be the big thing.
Yeah. So we'll look into that at the staff level and see what we can do about putting all those pieces together to encourage more of these things happening.
Okay, so that's the kind of the goal. That's create. So you lose rental stock, but you gain like opportunities to build equity.
Absolutely.
So that's the plus about that.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else, commissioners? For now, so we've got some folks here. It's not a public hearing, but if you'd like to speak to us about this agenda item, you are more than welcome to come up and give us your 2 cents. So let us know who you are, and you've got 3 minutes.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
Woohoo! Back in action. So for tonight's topic is just general planning, future planning, A lot of housing things going on. There's a zoning and land element use.
Can you state your name?
Oh, sorry, yes, please. My name's Afa, A-F-A, Afa. I live right here by the KOA. There's apartments over there in the cul-de-sac off Hinckley. And last time we were here, we were talking about the Yeah movement. Yes to expedite affordable housing, take tiny houses on wheels and press it through with the council, and it's super successful. So thank you, thank you, thank you, super gratitude. The element about equity, we've been invited to Siskiyou Housing Alliance. We've been invited to other circles that's talking about futures of Mount Shasta, and they really like the equity element of paying off your tiny house on wheels and then having it so that we can move into a general plan where affordable housing is affordable. And so a lot of people like that part, and they love the CEQA, and they love, just everything that you guys did. Everybody that we told this to really appreciates your work, so thank you. I just want to throw this out there, that our future plan, the general plan and the zoning and the land use, is that it has to be tailored for the people that live here. And so I've read through these things, and it makes it expedite for developers to be able to do things like by right, or pick a zoning and you can build, whatever it is, you can get it passed pretty quickly. And my only issue is that if it passes the price range of about $250,000, it is not affordable. That's the bottom line. We can expedite townhomes, we can expedite landings, we can expedite 10-plex, we can expedite all the zonings, we can expedite and clean up everything and make it a lot easier and faster for developers to come through with or without any public comment or color or grass or all those things. But if it's $550,000, like the average medium price range of Mount Shasta, then it defeats the whole purpose. And so the first phase of the Yeah movement was to get tiny houses on wheels, or something that's a next step easy affordability process, which we already have a manufacturing going on in McLeod. Now we just need to go into the purchasing stages and then infrastructure and work with the city. Sorry. But then the next phase of the Yeah movement is assisting the planning and the city council into figuring out a huge Rubik's Cube, which is the price of $250,000 housing or less. Because our average medium income per person as an individual in Mount Shasta is $34,000. If you have a partner, if you don't. If you do, that's $70K. That's not a lot of money. If you had basic housing, you just times it by 3. That's $210,000. It's been about 3 minutes, so appreciation, thank you for all you guys do, and with this new future general plan, my little 2 cents is if we can figure out a way to price it and hold the price somehow. We need to figure that out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wait till you get to the mic, please. And let us know your name first again for the tape.
Hi, I'm Therese Swenson. Facilitating conversion apartments to condo. So I visited my friend in Denver.
Go
And she had an apartment house, and she was able to buy the whole corner, and it's hers, and she owns it. I think that's what you're talking about. People being able to buy an apartment where it's joined to another building. Is that what we're talking about here when you talk about facilitate conversion of apartments to condo? I want to know if I understand.
Sure. We're talking about, we're talking about developers and property owners who have, for example, maybe a 10-unit apartment complex. Typically, those apartment complexes, the units within the apartment complexes would be for rent only.
Right.
So if that property owner were to convert those into condominiums, those condominiums then could be listed for sale by unit. So you could buy Unit A as opposed to just renting Unit A. So that would be another option for folks to be able to buy something within the city and earn equity to what Commissioner Finling was saying.
So they'd be buying a part of
They would be buying a
HOA
condominium
kind of a thing.
unit
Yeah.
within an existing complex.
Right.
So basically, like Sunday morning, they have that street, or that little apartment complex called Sunday Morning on Smith Street,
Yeah, an A, yeah.
on A. And that kind of thing could be turned into little, is that the kind of, I mean, I'm trying to understand where this might happen. Also, one of the questions I want to ask is the old hospital, Laurel Crest or whatever it was, burned. Can that
So-
be turned into some sort of apartments?
I think, you know,
I don't know.
So we're gonna, this isn't really a back and forth kind of a deal right now. Appreciate your comments and your interest, though, absolutely.
thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you. So commissioners, do we have any, well, and maybe also Kim, so going forward, I guess from us, you would like to know where you want direction, like generally it looks like, you know, we need to make this happen and to be compliant with our general plan. And really now over the course of the next year, we're going to plug away at this.
We're going to chip away at making these updates. And so, you know, as we're out and about within the community and we're hearing folks say what their wishes and wants are, I want to be able to have that opportunity to collate those thoughts here. And if there's a way to implement those ideas, if there's a way to fold them into the general plan land use element update, sometime in this next year would be the way to do that.
And like, an example, like what, to kind of prime the pump, if you will, what
Sure.
kinds of things might people be thinking about?
You know, housing, so, you know, since I walked in here in August, there's not a day or two that goes by that there's a discussion about housing supply, housing product type, having different forms of housing. Tiny homes on wheels is a great example, but there are also other ways that we can accommodate housing. There are many communities that have maybe fourplexes or paired homes or, you know, quad homes. There are many different product types that exist in other places that work in terms of, you know, lowercase a affordable housing, things that we don't have here but perhaps could introduce here. And maybe if we had some goals and policies in place to encourage those uses, it would help bring in some of these folks who want to develop them.
Great. Yeah, go ahead, Belinda.
So in that condominium conversation, part of the problem with the conversion and making it so that it becomes to buy housing is we lose rental housing. And so it's a very, yeah.
Right.
And whatever that means, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's difficult because we don't want to lose our rental housing because most people don't have a down payment to make a purchase, even if it's low, you know, they don't have it, but they might be able to come up with first and last rent.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest, I mean, I think that's what was part of that original condo ordinance, if I, right?
Yeah, was
I'm looking
that
at the people
concern.
that have been here for a long time. We've been here, done this, and so we remember vaguely. I mean, you know, it's not, yeah, you remember, you get to remember a lot more. So just to make sure that we understand that that's also an issue in the condo conversion equation.
Right. I think that's definitely a component of it. I think the bigger picture is we need to figure out how to accommodate housing supply, and then underneath supply, we can break it down into rental supply, purchase supply, those kinds of things. But I think the overarching sentiment that I've been hearing for the last few months is we just need more opportunities to have housing. Whether or not we rent them or buy them, we just need to have that opportunity in this town.
But not single-family large, I mean, I think we're kind of okay, our stock, our 3.2s. We're kind of good on the 3.2s, but, and 4s and whatevers. It's the, smaller.
Smaller. Just more, I think there's a lot of room to incorporate different types of housing. So we're starting the discussion with the tiny homes on wheels, and I think going forward, we'll start looking at other ways we could accommodate housing. So, as we go through this next year of land use element update, there could be ways we incentivize some of these efforts by putting in the appropriate goals and policies.
Well, when we did our design, when we updated our design standards, for our objective design standards, one of the things we did include was not just, the tiny homes on wheels, but we were looking at like courtyard and those kinds of things. So we did get some of that in place recently. Just FYI.
I think it's a great start.
Trying to. Cindy Lee?
I was, in looking at what's here, I didn't see community land trust as one of the options for moving forward with affordable housing. Is that on the table?
I will add that to my list.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do you know about community land trusts?
Yes, on a high level, yes.
Good, thank you.
Great. Go ahead, Alan.
There's also, in parts of town, there are some remaining narrow lots that are still on the books. I think we should, at one time, those were being consolidated, lot line adjustments, things like that, just to get rid of, make it a bigger lot and stuff like that. I don't know if that's a policy or not, I don't recall, but I'd like to retain those, given housing demand, not necessarily encourage that. Down by the hospital, there was a bunch of that.
A bunch of little narrow lots. Yeah. I agree, retaining those.
Up in the old neighborhood, A Street and there were some very narrow lots, like 40s, something like that.
Yeah.
Which used to be common.
Right.
It's tough in some of this hilly country, but anyway.
Yeah, I think north of McLeod, too, I think there's a few
It's tough
left.
because of construction costs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I appreciate Afa's comments, on affordability, and it does come down to the building costs, and which usually equates to size. So if we can encourage more smaller homes, might be going smaller in California to help with that affordability, and it's just part of the equation right now.
Yeah, thank you.
You brought up an example of the parcel by, I forget who you said owns it, by the hospital, just south of the
Oh,
hospital.
Bob Hammond's property.
If it's adjacent to the hospital, and then there's the fort.
No, it's farther south.
I think it's a bit farther south.
It's adjacent to the Forest Service.
Okay. How big
It's
is
where the apple tree and the blackberry bushes are.
They're like, we have those everywhere.
But I know, that helped, okay,
Yeah.
that's all.
All right, commissioners, anything else? Kim, anything else on this, or shall we, I assume we're proceeding.
Okay.
In some fashion. I don't think there's any, you don't need action
Yeah, we will
from
proceed
us.
in some fashion. I'll provide updates as we go along, and then we can pivot in the future as necessary. But I just wanted to make sure that, that the Planning Commission and the public understood at a high level what the long-range planning tasks were that we're undertaking, that we're working on. There's a lot.
For you. to
There's a
do.
lot. For planning staff of one, there's a lot.
Right. Can we get like interns? Can you get an intern to help? I don't know.
That would be great. I would welcome, if there's anybody out there who wants to be a planning intern, I would welcome that opportunity to.
We had those Civic
To help
Spark.
share.
We had Civic Spark fellows, a couple of them. One stayed for a couple of years while Juliana was here. Are you
Okay.
familiar with Civic
Okay.
Spark? It was Civic Spark, right?
How did we pay them, or how did they find lodging?
I don't recall. They did live, I think they lived here in town. They found housing. But anyway, if you're familiar with Civic Spark and the fellows that they send out into the world to get planning
I'm
chops.
going to look into that.
Yeah, even, they could do remote for a lot of that, where you're just reading it and cleaning it up to make it work. They don't have to physically be there necessarily.
Okay.
But I think
the goal is
did.
to make planning cool, so more of us want to do this.
That'd be great. Well, they were enthusiastic. I think one of the projects they worked on was a stormwater a stormwater
Okay.
dock. If you might see one of those on the shelf there somewhere.
Okay,
They
okay,
definitely did a stormwater project.
Trenches, yeah.
okay.
So it's pretty recent
All right,
as
thank
things
you.
go. Sure. Okay, well, that's it then for item 5. Item number 6 is commission and staff comments. How about if I let you go first, Kim?
I don't even know where to start. There are so many updates. I guess I'll throw it back to the commission. Let's start with your comments and questions, and then maybe we'll have a dialogue of where I could interject with some staff comments for.
Okay, we start. How about Cindy?
To go through this, is this what we're?
No, we're done with that item. We're now at commission and staff comments,
Okay.
because that attachment was part of the specifics for the other one. Okay, so Cindy Lee, you want to start with you?
I'm going to wait for a bit while I look a little more.
Okay. Alan, did you have any comments, staff comments?
Then maybe, we're not looking at attachment A anymore. We're not going.
No,
through this.
that was
Then I don't have
item
any-
5.
Then I don't have any comments.
The general plan, land use element section is done
Yes,
for the evening.
just making sure.
Right, that was,
Now it's just like, you want to ask about the park or whatever.
or Danco, or there's a lot of things we can ask questions about. So,
Well, there was interest at one time in the hospital property up there.
yeah, I mean, that would be something to see what's the status of that, the the old hospital?
The old hospital, the one
Yeah.
that burned?
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's still under private ownership. I
Right.
think there's discussion internally about how the city can acquire that parcel to redevelop it.
Is that because it's too expensive for private? I'd rather the city not do it, that somehow there's not enough development demand for somebody that's in the middle of housing.
Yeah, well, I think it's not a piece of property that's listed for sale. It's not on the market. Nobody knows that it's available to purchase and develop on.
And is the owner just like,
Yep.
is that right?
You know who the owner is.
I don't remember.
Oh, yeah.
So there are discussions happening about the city, how the city might be able to put something together to redevelop that in the future.
Okay.
That would be lovely.
That would be lovely.
That's the only reason the city would want to do it.
Anything else, Alan?
Oh, that was it.
Okay, Belinda? Mike, if you do. No? Tucson?
Oh, I do have a comment. Tomorrow is a big cleanup behind the theater, Clean and Safe, the not real but real little group, me, is looking for volunteers to come help pick up the garbage that's back there. So anybody that wants to volunteer and come out at 10 o'clock in the morning with your gloves and your sturdy shoes and put things in bags that I have is welcome to join me. There's people out there, but I'm going to put it out there for even more.
10 until when?
10 until whenever. If you only want to work half an hour, that's fine. That's still a half an hour of trash, right? You know, but yeah,
From folks living back there?
I
Something.
don't know. It's just, it hasn't been done in a while because I have not been a very active leader. And but it got brought to my attention, and there's enough people that are interested in helping do it before the rain this next weekend. That's-
Thank you for
Yeah, so anyway.
taking
So
the
I guess
lead on
that's
that.
the appropriate comment from a commissioner.
Thank you. Tucson?
A few things. I've been curious about, it's been a long time since we've had an update on the cannabis licenses that we've put out years ago. Are they still filled? Are these businesses still in business? Do you know anything about them and how they're operating?
As far as I know, all of the licenses that are available for allocation by the city are all being used. So we don't have any open licenses that no one's taking advantage of. More recently, there have been some property or business ownership changes. So we're getting new applications in. They're not new businesses, but a former operator may be leaving town and a new operator is coming in. So there's paperwork involved with paperwork, application fees, background check, that kind of thing. But we're at our capacity in terms of how many permits we allow, and they're all open and valid.
Okay. Yeah, thanks.
Sure.
I also wanted to acknowledge the city's newsletter that they've been sending out, and I appreciate that because though I come to these meetings, I'm not really, going to the city council meetings, so it's nice to know what's going on that level.
Thank you. That is the brainchild or pet project for our city clerk, and Rachel has put a lot of hours into that, and the last 2 newsletters that have gone out have all been because Rachel organized it all. So thank you for the feedback. I will pass that along to her. But that's something that we hope that we can continue on a monthly basis. If there's anything the community wants to know about that the city can help with, we can certainly put it into the newsletter, spread the word, that kind of thing. So.
Do you know how many emails that goes out to? How many people?
I don't. I can find out, but there's a list that the city's been using. So whoever Rachel had access to, whoever's just provided us their emails over time, they're on the list. If you're curious, I'm curious too. I could find out how many it goes out to.
Yeah.
And are we free to forward those to interested?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Kudos to Rachel.
I'll pass it along to her.
And finally, I would like to acknowledge Vicki Gold, who passed about a week ago, as a very strong advocate for Mount Shasta and our natural environment, our water, our small town character. She's going to be missed by many people. She gave us a lot of, thoughtful feedback over many, many years. Much longer than I've been a commissioner. So.
Did she move?
No, she passed away.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, thank you
Yeah.
for that, Tucson.
The way that it was announced was that Vicki got her wings,
Yeah,
and that's her language, yeah.
indeed. Yeah. So thank you, Vicki. There's going to be a memorial for her, I believe, on November 8th, right in this venue.
Thanks. Anything else?
That's it.
Yeah, so if you could, I'm an update on Danco. People, I know there's a lot of buzz. It's a big deal, big construction project in town. So do you have an update how that project's going?
Yes, I do. So there is work happening. There have been, the Danco project, building permits have been pulled. They are working on it now. Some of the guys out there who are breaking ground have unexpectedly encountered water. So there have been a couple
Unexpected.
unexpectedly.
Unexpected who?
Air quotes, unexpectedly, encountered water. So there have been some starts and stops and pauses with the construction team. Our city staff is on top of guiding that development to move along. There's some gap in construction management best practices that we're working to resolve so that they can keep going.
If I might be so bold, they learned a lot in building the Premier West Banner Bank building.
Oh,
When they excavated there, the plans had to be just, tossed because
Yeah.
everything was sinking fast.
So that's happening again here.
Yeah, well, what I'm getting at is they did come up with a method of sealed deep piles
Yeah.
that worked. At least
Yeah.
that's what piles are typically open, and
I think that their solution here on this site is to do
Spread.
layers of rock and fabric.
I noticed that happening, but I'm
Well, their engineers are
aren't engineers
saying
great? No, that's great. I hope it works.
it. Yeah, I do too.
I do have one little question.
Yeah.
When you were mentioning the cannabis businesses, I have never heard how much money it actually brings us,
That's a good question, too.
I will add that to my homework.
because all the years that it's been, there's been no, it might go to the city council, but it doesn't ever come here. And so, because we worked so hard on that, we'd like to know whether it was worth it or not.
Yeah, I will find out.
That'd be great.
Yeah, there are construction efforts over there. They're tracking soil out onto the street. It was cleaned up this evening. I was happy to see that.
So what's great about our community is I love and appreciate that people who walk by, who see, infractions on BMPs, they give us a call and say, hey, it's the end of the workday, they didn't sweep up. We can follow up on that and make sure that they don't do that the next day. So they know better. They know that all of everything should be buttoned up at the end of the day, every day. And if they don't do it, we'll know about it. So,
Yeah, a lot of scrutiny. Also, there's a lot of work on the city streets lately. Do you know what that's?
yeah, I have a message in with Ken, our Public Works Director. There's a whole list of things that he and his team are working on. So I'm going to come back to you next month with a full summary of these street improvements, just so that we all know what's going on.
We used to have a newspaper, and we have a newsletter now, and
Right.
But things that are going on, things that we may have been involved with early on. It's kind of nice to see.
It's nice to see, yeah.
what happens to them
Right.
afterwards. So.
And on that note, if there are other things that you're curious about, let me know also, and I can chase down those answers for our next meeting.
Thank you.
Sure.
That's lovely. So I think now you can go to staff comments, and if it bleeds into future agenda items, we'll let that slide.
Okay. So one thing I wanted to talk about real quick was the Rite Aid building on Lake. So Rite Aid is out. That building is empty. The city has received quite a few phone calls from interested parties, people who want to come in, either redevelop it, reuse it for something else, either commercial use or maybe splitting it up and doing multifamily. But there are people who notice, who are paying attention and are coming to ask us. So we're going to try to facilitate maybe next steps of redevelopment at the Rite Aid site, possibly.
And what is the zoning there? Is it?
It's commercial. Yeah, it's our C2 very permissive zoning.
So housing could go in there?
Housing could go into commercial zoning, yes. Yes. So, but the phone calls are coming in, so we're fielding the phone calls. So it's exciting. It's exciting to know that there are folks out there who are seeing development opportunity and who are picking up the phone and inquiring with the city. So we'll have those meetings.
Then could we lean on it was the Art Center, it's the vacant building on the other side of the Burger King from the old Rite Aid that's been sitting there vacant for 2 decades maybe now?
Oh.
At least, yeah, at least.
So, if the city's getting inquiries there and people want to develop, if we could lean on the landowner there that lets that building in that prime location sit vacant for decades.
It's being used for storage.
We'll call that vacant.
And there's a huge trash problem there, by
Yes,
the way.
yes.
It's kind of a nuisance in how they're dealing with it, I think. The landscape, it's just letting it look, it's kind of a blight
Yeah.
there. So anyway, keep going.
Okay. And then the last
If I
item
might interrupt,
Oh, yeah?
what is happening down at the landing, since we asked about these other
That is a
sites?
good segue into my last item. Yeah, so my last comment item, and especially I appreciate Therese still being here, thank you, because you can benefit from the answer. But I wanted to give a briefing on the landing. So the landing is that old mill site. There is discussion about development finally on that site. Now that it's been cleaned up, it's a brownfield site, it's finally clean. In fact, there is leftover grant money from the EPA for the city to make next steps in terms of how we redevelop this site. So it's a property that the city owns, and if the city at any time decides that there's surplus property, the state makes us go through the Surplus Lands Act and offer the property up and say, hey, dear world, the city may not need this property. Is there anybody out there in the universe who may want to come in with a development proposal that includes a capital A affordable housing component so that we can accommodate capital A affordable housing as we unload this piece of property? So back in June, the previous planning director, Jeff Mitchum, issued a letter, it was a notice of availability letter that went out in June saying, "Dear world, we have the landing property available. If anybody wants to talk to the city about affordable housing, let's talk," because under the Surplus Lands Act, priority goes to anybody who wants to do affordable housing. So at the end of that 60-day period, there was actually one developer, one local developer who responded. And with that one response, there is a negotiation period of 90 days that the city is in the middle. We're in the middle of our 90 days right now in negotiations with that land developer to see if we could pencil something that includes capital A affordable housing. So we're within that 90-day window right now. If we can't come to some terms and agreements, then the city will then have satisfied the requirements of SLA, and then the property can be opened up and available for sale at that point. But we have to go through this process first of trying to see if we can find somebody who wants to help us out by putting in affordable housing. So that's what's happening right now. We're in the middle of that 90-day period. So that's one thing that's happening on the landing site. Separately, because there's leftover money from EPA for that brownfield cleanup, we've got some dollars that we can dedicate towards what we're going to call a master plan. So the city would like to have a master plan put over the landing project site so that we can identify as a city our hopes, wishes, and desires in terms of what we want to see there, not just affordable housing, but anything else we might want to see as a city. So this is the beginning of a very large-scale discussion of master land use planning, and it's going to be an effort that includes any interested parties within the city, anybody who lives here, part of the community who wants to see something developed there. It's going to be a process that includes public engagement all along the way, and it's going to be the city's plan to move forward with.
So what about all the planning we've done there so far?
Those will be folded into what we're going to do going forward.
Good.
But so
Keep
officially,
doing
yeah.
it.
So officially, there's traction. There's traction now on the landing, and hopefully, if not this developer, the property will be able to be sold to somebody who wants to do something. And if the city has a master plan in place, then there's a piece of paper that says, whoever you are, this is what we want. And this is what we want is going to be authored by those of us here through a lengthy public engagement process. So that is the goal.
And that's on your plate too.
We're adding that to my plate, yes. But, that's a big thing. It's exciting. It's exciting to be a part of because this is going to be the beginning of a coordinated effort to put in the highest and best use for that piece of property. And it's going to be for people coming up I-5, that is the gateway to the city. And there's so many cool things we can do. And now is the time to start thinking about what we want as a city, putting it on paper and working with folks to make that happen through a series of years, coming years. So.
As Melanie said, there has been planning efforts on that site. I don't know how available they are these days, but and I think the community members have been involved in the past, so having that at least acknowledged so that, there's
Absolutely, yeah.
Is part of that. Also, not everybody seems to realize there's a portion of that property on the east side of the Mount Shasta Boulevard.
There is. So the land, so what we call the landing is a series of parcels on the west side, but there is also some property on the east side as well, yeah.
And that could work as single-family housing.
It could. Or higher than single-family housing.
Yeah.
And then how
Well,
much would,
it's kind of lumpy, so.
Yeah.
It's on a slope and it's in the trees.
Yeah.
Housing connected to bike trails.
Yes.
So
And how many of the acres are up for sale, would be up for sale?
I don't know the number off the top of my head, but it's a chunk. Yeah.
40, yeah.
Thank you.
That was 44.4.
20,000 of other properties, but there's 44 acres in the Roseburg.
Okay. Yeah.
44 acres from the audience for
But
those who
that's a
didn't
lot
hear
of
it.
room to do something with. So,
Besides just a trailhead,
yeah, besides just trailhead.
which
So-
is a great trailhead.
Yeah,
but
so that was the only thing I wanted to touch on was just discussions that are happening around the landing and that there's going to be a coordinated effort that involves everybody so that we can get something that we all want to see.
Thank you for making public engagement a priority.
I love public engagement. You're welcome.
Great. Anything else coming down the pike? Any projects? What do you pick, like the next few meetings? What we're going to be doing?
So we can lead into future agenda items.
You ready? Okay,
Officially.
item number 7.
Item number 7. Officially, the police chief has handed me a draft copy. I wrote noise element on here. It's actually not. It's a noise ordinance that he's working on, that he's drafting. I have to sit down and read through it to figure out what it is, but it's going to have to go through the Planning Commission for your review before it goes to council. So I'm going to wrap my arms around that, hopefully in the next month, bring it back to the Planning Commission in November, but that's going to be a noise ordinance update from our police chief. Separately, there's a safety element update that Jeff Mitchum was working on over the summer that he had almost buttoned up. I think it has to do with the local hazards mitigation plan that's been adopted countywide, and we just need to connect that to the city's safety element. So that's just a functional paperwork thing. If I have that ready for next month, that will also come at you in November. I don't see having any project-related items. There are a lot of discussions with folks about submitting applications to do projects, but I don't have any permits on my desk that are open to bring forward to the Planning Commission just yet. But there are lots of people doing things in town, so hopefully when applications come in, they'll come through here. So as they come in, I'll let you know about them.
Did you say the police chief is doing the noise?
Yes.
Why is that?
I think it has to do with noise, decibel, ordinance.
So it isn't the noise element at all. This is a whole nother.
Yeah, not noise element at all. It's a noise ordinance. Noise
Is it
standards that are being.
Coming from complaints?
Yeah.
Or,
Need to enforce?
Possibly, I don't know. To be honest, I have not had the time to read through the draft ordinance yet.
But we get to see it. Okay.
Yeah.
That's an ordinance.
Lovely. We've been talking about in ways for decades also.
There are lots of things that we can chip away at.
Yeah.
I mean, tonight we talked about, planning is divided into current workload and long-range planning. So current planning is the conditional use permits and the cannabis permits and those things that come through. We didn't even talk about any of that. We'll talk about that a different night, but this evening was really on just the long-range stuff, all the stuff that drops down from the general plan and the zoning ordinance, and that's the chunk that we're talking about tonight. But there's a lot of work to do.
There's so much on our plate here. Are there going to be some more special meetings? Are there going to be? Is it always just going to be once a month, or there's so much here?
I think for right now, to meet once a month is adequate. But between the once a month, there's a lot of work to do.
Because we've also done things where we've, split out and had subcommittees work on things, like the cannabis ordinance.
Right,
That was
right.
heavy lifting by the subcommittee
Yeah.
to make that happen.
and the
Our objective design standards, that was another subcommittee.
So here's the
Effort.
other thing is objective design standards were adopted for residential purposes only.
Right.
There's a whole other section for commercial that we haven't even tackled yet. So
Right, and do we want to? Because the subjectivity
That's a
is
whole- yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
But it's also this, people have to say, well, what is a mountain village? You know it when you see it, right? That's been a
Yeah,
tough one.
yeah, so.
But, okay, anything else, commissioners? Well, that's our first meeting with Kim
Okay.
Fowler, our new planning director. Thank you.
Thank you.
For Tuesday, October 21st, 2025.
All right.
Tucson, you going to be around next week?
First time since I.
And maybe December?